streak of executive orders. Donald Trump moves to end birthright citizenship. Move is set to impact families of H-1B visa holders. French President Emmanuel Macron urges Europe to boost defense spending. Macron warns Europe that they cannot depend only on America for their defense and protection. Experts uphold India's position on the Indus Water Treaty. Experts back India over Pakistan on the hydro projects. After a historic political comeback, Donald Trump took his first actions in office. As the 47th President of the United States, Donald Trump signed a bunch of executive orders after taking the oath of office on Monday, looking to quickly implement his election agenda, including declaring a national emergency on the U.S. Mexico border. He's ordered construction of the border wall to resume and terminated diversity programs in federal agencies. After a celebratory rally in downtown Washington, D.C., Trump signed a number of orders related to immigration at the White House, including a directive to end birthright citizenship. He also withdrew from the WHO as well as the Paris Climate Treaty and a whole lot more. Proclaiming a new American golden age has begun. Within hours into his new term, President Trump obliterated large chunks of Joe Biden's legacy or the work that the previous government had done. In fact, he also revoked about 80 executive actions that the former president had signed. Before we explore the details of his executive orders, let's first listen in to some of the key takeaways from his oath-taking ceremony.
The golden age of America begins right now. During every single day of the Trump administration, I will very simply put America first. The vicious, violent, and unfair weaponization of the Justice Department and our government will end. Revoking nearly 80 destructive, radical executive actions of the previous administration, they'll all be null and void within about, 5 minutes? Is that them over there? 5 minutes? And next, to gain immediate control of the vast federal, out-of-control bureaucracy, I will implement an immediate regulation freeze, which will stop Biden bureaucrats from continuing to regulate. Most of those bureaucrats are being fired. They're gone.
All right. One of the most significant decisions that Donald Trump today took as part of his executive orders pertains to the birthright citizenship. And what it means, it impacts also H-1B visa holders as well, because children born to H-1B visa holders will now be considered illegal and hence will have to return. And will this mean the end of the H-1B dream, particularly for India? Why? Because India does have a very large portion of the H-1B visa holders. U.S. had a population of about 5.4 million Indian Americans, and they account for about 1.47% of the country's population. 2/3 of them are immigrants. 34% are U.S. born. That is the latest data that's come in. And a large part of them are, of course, H-1B visa holders as well. One can say that they are highly specialized. They provide the skill sets that average Americans do not have. So what does this mean for them and for their families? Let's get in David Johnston joining me to talk about this and to really decode the impact that this could have on H-1B visa holders. Good to have you, Professor Johnston, with me on the show. Talk to us about the uncertainty that lies ahead, particularly for H-1B visa holders.
Well, just a few weeks ago, Trump was in favor of continuing without much change the H-1B program because Elon Musk wanted it. But the MAGA right, his core supporters, don't like this program. So I think this is one where the tensions within the Republican Party and Trump followers are going to be very important. And by the way, Donald cannot end birthright citizenship. It's in the United States Constitution. So when he signed that executive order, it's meaningless as a matter of law. It simply tells you how deeply racist this administration will be.
Yes, that is one part of it. Donald Trump's also done a flip-flop as far as H-1B visa is concerned. Before I come to you about the legalities of this, I want to understand from you the impact this could have. On your screens, of course, we are playing out for our viewers how many H-1B visa holders are there, the fact that they contribute to a large extent to America's growth story and the larger economic story. I want to understand from you the impact this could have in the immediate term, because there are stories that are coming in that several H-1B visa holders, they're in fact being abruptly told by their employers that they will not get a continuation.
Well, the H-1B program gives employers total control over the people who work for them. If you are fired from your job, you have about 60 days to find another job that would qualify you, or you have to leave the country immediately. And one of the objections in the U.S. to this is that while India has benefited a great deal, money sent home to India, remittances, it pushes down the wages of Americans who might develop the skills that Indian software coders and other technical people already have. So if Donald's going to pursue his America First policy, I would expect that there will be a decline in the number of East Indians who have an H-1B visa in the U.S. because his program is America First, Jobs for Americans. At the same time, he wants to cut higher education spending, not increase it. And that's one of the many contradictions in his policies.
The other thing I want to ask is that H-1B visa program really took out the divisions within the MAGA camp in complete detail, right? There was a camp which said that this is good. Of course, the larger MAGA brigade said that this goes against the very principle that is all about Make America Great Again. Do you think the entire flip-flop is pretty much caught in the center of the entire political tussle that Donald Trump is likely to see more of, even though he may want specialized, highly talented, skilled workforce to come in?
Well, it's important to understand that Donald doesn't really have policies. I've covered him as a journalist for 36 years, longer than anyone else. And Donald is very subject to the last person he spoke to. There's no underlying philosophy here. So how this will turn out is not at all clear, but he's certainly under pressure by the far right in America to make sure that people from India aren't here in as many numbers as they are. This is a Make America White government, and that more Americans have these jobs. And part of the problem is America is not producing enough computer science, genetic science, and other cutting edge areas as it needs. So as a result, people who studied hard in school in India in those fields have opportunities they wouldn't have. And Americans, because of the wages being pushed down, that's what an H-1B visa does, it suppresses wages, are less likely to undertake the expense, not to mention that in the U.S. there's this very strong anti-intellectual, anti-education movement led by the Trump-Publican Party.
All right, David K. Johnston, really appreciate you taking out the time to decode what I think is going to be a very important story that India Global is going to keep a very close watch on. Shifting focus now, soon after taking over as the 47th U.S. president today, Donald Trump signed a record number of executive orders, including one entailing the nation's withdrawal from the WHO, which is the World Health Organization. The executive orders cover a wide range of topics, from requiring federal workers to return to office full-time to revoking birthright citizenship that we just spoke about, and even pulling the United States out of the Paris Climate Agreement. But what does it mean to really sign an executive order? What's that all about? Let's get in Vishal Vivek, my colleague, to explain that to you.
Executive orders are signed statements about how President wants the federal government to be managed. These orders can be instructions to federal agencies or requests for reports. They can also lay out major policies. For example, when former President Joe Biden signed an order to create a structure for establishing regulations on artificial intelligence, Executive orders are also used by presidents to pursue agendas they haven't been able to or can't get through Congress. New presidents can issue orders to cancel the orders of his predecessors, and they often do that. Trump has already cancelled about 78 orders and actions signed by Joe Biden. According to the American Bar Association, the orders do not require congressional approval and can't be directly overturned by lawmakers. Despite appearing to wield a lot of power, there are some limitations to how far an executive order can go. Both Congress and the courts can potentially block these orders. Congress can also deny funding to federal agencies and cripple the enforcement of these orders.
Okay, there you heard what really are executive orders. The reason why it's important for you, viewers to know this is because that kind of constitutional authority we do not see here in India in our constitutional framework. But beyond the orders, what's the impact of it? What is really going to change with those bunch of executive orders that you saw Donald Trump sign away while he was talking to the media? Take a look at this report that my colleague Arjun has filed to tell you what really is the larger impact of those 80-odd signatures that Donald Trump did within hours of taking office.
As Donald Trump returns to the Oval Office for his second term, his executive actions are already reshaping the U.S. in dramatic ways. Here's a closer look at the sweeping changes under Trump 2.0. First up, Trump is vowing to end the weaponization of the federal government. His executive orders suspend enforcement of the TikTok ban for 75 days. He's also freezing the implementation of new federal regulations. Furthermore, the U.S. will now reclassify federal employees as political appointees to make it easier, in fact, to terminate them. Additionally, investigations into potential free speech violations under Biden are set to launch, with Trump's orders will also support states and securing lethal injection drugs for executions. Speaking of environment, Trump will once again withdraw from the Paris Climate Agreement, signaling his commitment to rolling back climate regulations. His administration is easing restrictions on oil and natural gas production. Trump 2.0 is expanding fossil fuel drilling and eliminating the EV mandate. Additionally, Trump is halting leasing for large wind farms as well, prioritizing traditional energy sources. Now, in a significant move for global health policy, Trump is directing the U.S. to exit the World Health Organization. It's a bold step to reassert American sovereignty on health issues. He's also taking decisive action on gender policies with an executive order declaring the government will officially recognize only two biological sexes, male and female. He's also rolling back the DEI initiatives in federal agencies and in the military, marking a sharp break from the previous administration's inclusivity measures. Now, these orders signal a return to Trump's vision for America. It's a path that promises to undo key Biden-era policies and reshape the country's future. Only time will tell what will this new era mean for the U.S.
Indeed, only time will tell what this will mean for the U.S. and the world. But I'm going to slip into a short break, come back and pose that question to two important experts who will decode what Trump 2.0 era is going to be all about. Stay with us.
I urgently need to ask for your help on behalf of animals at risk right now. With the pandemic came a surge in pet ownership. And sadly, we're now seeing a serious rise in neglect, cruelty, and abuse. Our services are being stretched to the limit. To make matters worse, our costs are soaring too. But we refuse to let animals suffer. So please, act now to help rescue the growing number of animals who've never needed us more. Please call or text the number on screen now to give £2 a month to the RSPCA. In one of the toughest times we have ever experienced, your gift will make all the difference to animals. You could help provide more life-saving treatment, food, shelter, and the loving care that many have never known. We know there are millions of you who, like us, care deeply and won't stand by while animals are suffering. We have to reach those trapped in a life of abuse and neglect before it's too late. Because for many, the RSPCA is their only hope. But we can only come to the rescue with the support of people like you. So please, will you help us be there no matter what? Call 0800 313 4392 or text RSPCA to 78866 to start your monthly gift today. Thank you.
If you're homeless, you're never safe.
Tonight, too many young people like Kira will be at risk right here on our streets. But you could help a young person find safety and begin a new future by sponsoring a room at Centrepoint.
It's more than a room. You get real support and training to help you get your life back on track.
Please search Centrepoint Room online today or call 0808 281 8001 and be the turning point for a young person like Kira. Thank you.
Hi, it's Phoebe from Auto Trader's monthly electric car giveaway, and we're pleased to say that you've won a brand new electric car.
It's a dream, honestly, it really is a dream. Oh my god. Me and my boyfriend talk about the Auto Trader competition every single month. I was waiting for the know you ever won.
With BetterHelp, the work is all about the relationship, finding my way to enter into their world, to see the world through their eyes.
Personalised care comes from listening to the client and what they want to bring you. It's for us to just be there for them.
As a therapist on BetterHelp, I think it's really important to let clients know that you see them authentically and in the way that they want to be seen.
Welcome back. You're watching India Global with me, Gaurie Dwivedi. We now turn our attention to what really does Trump 2.0 mean for India. And I've got two very important voices. Kamal Sibal, former Foreign Secretary, Dr. Mukesh Aghi, President CEO of U.S ISPF, to decode what Trump's second era is really going to be all about. Dr. Aghi, let me start with you. Lots to talk about, but in your assessment, what could be the key highlights of the India-U.S. relations under Donald Trump?
You have to understand both short term and the long term. What we have is a domestic agenda which is focused on immigration, job creation. And so from that perspective, India will get impacted because we have third largest illegal immigrants coming into the US. So the Trump administration is going to ask some kind of a game plan as to how India will take back these illegal immigrants. In regards to basically job creation, it is important to understand tariff is going to be critical. There'll be pressure on India to lower the tariff. There'll be pressure on India to see how you can basically get more job creation happening in the US itself. So I think from a short term, that is the agenda I see. But in the long term, you have to understand that geopolitically, both countries are aligned. You have basically a nation, which is China, which has taken a very aggressive, assertive posture both towards India and the United States. So there'll be much more stronger collaboration between US and India vis-a-vis China. That will percolate into short-term issues as to how do you basically move manufacturing out of China into United States. But overall, it has taken 40 years for manufacturing to move out of the US. So it will take a long time for it to come back. And that's where India can play a role, where it can take some of the manufacturing load for the US while the US basically brings in more high-end manufacturing. So I think there will be challenges, but opportunity between the two countries as Trump administration comes in.
Okay, Dr. Aghi, before I come to the manufacturing part, Kamal Sibal, come in on the China aspect. What will really be India's relationship as U.S. tries to ensure that it doesn't let China rise? At least that's what Trump's goal is going to be.
Look, on China, he's been sending contradictory signals. The only person that he invited in public officially to the inauguration was President Xi Jinping, no one else. And just before his inauguration, he spoke to Xi Jinping And obviously, some conversation took place, which was reassuring to the Chinese side. They sent their vice president. And the vice president apparently got a meeting with J.D. Vance. Maybe this was one of the conditions that was laid down. On the other hand, in his inaugural address, while referring to the Panama Canal, he specifically mentioned China, how this has been handed over to China, and this is not acceptable to Trump. And the Chinese vice president was sitting in the audience while he was saying that. He had earlier said he'll impose 100% tariffs or 60% tariffs on China. On TikTok, you've seen how he has set back. Clearly, this was part of the discussion with Xi Jinping in order to create a more conducive atmosphere for the vice president to visit. He wouldn't have liked to visit on the morrow when TikTok was excluded from the American social media scene. Therefore, he delayed it by 75 days.
All right, Dr. Agi, how much of a bump up will India get with regard to manufacturing, and what could be Elon Musk's role in this tenure, especially for India and for manufacturing?
See, Trump administration sees manufacturing as a job creator. But more important, manufacturing also is seen as building up your own industrial base. The war in Ukraine has shown that if you don't have your own industrial base, you cannot sustain a long-term war. So U.S. has to bring back manufacturing from a geopolitical perspective also. So you will see a major effort. The challenge is going to be is Elon Musk has his own interest in China. It has a mega Tesla plant there. And so you have to finagle that while you move manufacturing back into the US. And we've seen that happening with Apple. Apple has massive manufacturing in China, but it has been able to move some of it to India, been able to maneuver tariffs by the US government also. So I think you will find ways to basically deal with these complex issues with Trump administration.
All right. All right, Mr. Sibal, then coming on Elon Musk's primary role, which is to dismantle the administrative state, cut regulations, how do you see that impacting and really reshaping US and US bureaucracy?
No, so far as the deep state is concerned, this is an internal US problem, and he has to handle that. If he controls the deep state, there can be some indirect benefit to us to this extent that we also believe that while the Biden administration was working hard in many areas to expand ties with India, but there was a part of the US deep state which was working at cross purposes with the US administration and creating problems for us. The latest being in Bangladesh. But apart from that, this whole business about backsliding of democracy, persecution of minorities, human rights, curbing of religious freedoms, this was part of the deep states operating against us. Not merely that, I think they had support within the State Department, clearly. But nevertheless, this was part of the activity of the deep state. And this included the media and the prominent think tanks and journals of the United States. Now, if some curb is put on them, we may benefit from it, but this will not be that important and material. So the deep state problem is a US problem, not our problem. With regard to technology transfers and everything else, now if Trump is far too much fixated on making America great again, which is all right in terms of his aspirations, and if he feels that he has this sense of that the United States has been exploited and this internationalism and helping others, he has put some curbs on aid, as you know already, because he wants the American public to be first looked after rather than the United States giving aid to other countries.
Dr. Agi, we spoke about areas of convergence. What about prick points, pain areas where there could be some divergence between India and US?
I think you can have multiple areas where you could have irritation on both sides. But I strongly believe there's enough maturity on part of the Modi government and also incoming Trump administration that they will be able to handle complex issues in a win-win fashion. So I'm not too concerned about that. We are seeing that early on, like in regards to illegal immigration, where India has proactively said we will take back illegal immigrants as long as we have a proper process of identification that they are Indian citizens. So I think, yes, you will have irritants, you will have media playing a role there, but overall, there's enough maturity.
All right, Dr. Agi Kaval-Sibal, thanks so much for taking out the time to decode how Trump 2.0 is likely to reshape India-America ties. All right, on that note, we slip into a very short break. We come back on the other side with lots more, including the latest that's unfolding in Bangladesh. Stay with us.
This poor creature is a lion trapped in a cold, bare cage, alone. Terribly malnourished, just skin and bone. How can anyone simply leave a lion to rot and die? Right now, there are thousands of big cats suffering the same torment, languishing in cruel cages, neglected, abandoned, left to die. Will you help Four Paws free big cats suffering around the world right now? Please call 0800 035 7798, text RESCUE to 70544, or go online and give just £3 a month. Help Four Paws cut the bars and rescue these cats from their prisons. Help us take them to our sanctuaries where they can begin to recover. You'll be setting big cats free from pain and protecting them from cruelty, letting them see the blue sky above and breathe the clean, fresh air of freedom for the first time. But they are the lucky ones. Please call 0800 035 7798, text RESCUE to 70544 to give £3 a month via your mobile phone. Because if no one cuts the bars and frees these big cats, they will die trapped and alone.
It's gonna take a lot to drag me away from you. There's nothing that 100 men or more could ever do. Helpless rains down in
Luckily, Liam moved his credit card balances to his new Barclay card, so he'll pay no interest on his purchases for 31 months. What you buy is your business. Helping you pay less interest is ours. Barclay card. Make money work for you.
Actor of the Year. By the way, my dear friends, you know, probably I am one of the first ones in the history of NDTV to have this rare, proud honor of announcing and honoring as in the place of a real hero to a reel of my own movie, Shrikant. Without a further ado, with great admiration, love and due respect, the best actor of the year goes to Shri Rajkumar Rao. Please come on to the stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rajkumar Rao's versatility, dedication to meaningful cinema, and consistent delivery of powerful performances continued in 2024. His recent roles in Shrikant, Mr. and Mrs. Mahi, Stree 2, and Wiki Vidya Ka Wo Wala video showcases his deep commitment to
Welcome back. You're watching India Global with me, Gaurie Dwivedi. We now turn our attention to the other big story that we are tracking on the show, which is Chinmay Krishnadasa's bail plea. The jailed Hindu priest, he's been in prison for 57 days. Today is his 57th day. His bail plea was likely to be heard sometime this week, but it now looks like it's been pushed till next week. In a high court is where it has to be taken up. After his lawyers were finally able to file an appeal after receiving a certified copy of the judgment of the lower court, which rejected his bail application on the 2nd of January. Chinmay Krishna Das Brahmachari was arrested in Dhaka in Bangladesh in November last year in a sedition case, in a propped-up sedition case, which lawyers in the country have termed as a false, ludicrous charge. Das's lawyers have filed a petition in the High Court seeking bail, but that hasn't happened. In fact, that hearing itself is not taking place. Chinmay Krishna Das had emerged as a voice against the oppression of Hindu minorities by radical and terrorist forces in Bangladesh, which have not been reined in by the UNIS regime in Bangladesh. Lawyers who have appeared on behalf of Chinmay Krishna Das have also been attacked by radical groups, and the atrocities that the minorities continue to face in Bangladesh remains unchecked. The questions that we are going to pose to our panelists in just a short while will be about the fate of Chinmay Krishna Das, and more importantly, what does it tell about Mohammad Yunus and his interim government. But before that, let me get in my colleague Saurabh Gupta joining me from Kolkata to give a sense of where things are right now. Saurabh, you've been tracking this case very closely. Unfortunately, what we are telling our viewers is that there is no update, there is no clarity on the fate of Chinmay Krishna Das.
Well, yes, and obviously what should happen is that in a case like this, where there have been multiple pleas for early hearings, those pleas seems to have largely been, denied by the courts. And even when it's listed, what we've been given to understand that, courts actually go by matters serial number wise. And sometimes the serial number doesn't come up. And that means that if you have a date after so many days in court, and if that doesn't come up, it can just get pushed back to any day. And this is something that, of course, has been happening consistently in this case. Even if you see the hearing in the lower court, it was just pushed because, on one day the lawyers couldn't get proper documents, so there were threats in the courtroom. Eventually it took place. Then on 2nd January, again it took place, and there it was denied. Even the certified copy of that judgment to come so that he could move to a higher court to apply for bail was, delayed. And now when the lawyers have finally been able to move the High Court, it doesn't come up for hearing. So many would believe that this is a ploy to continue the incarceration. At least that is something that many quarters have alleged. And this is something that perhaps is part of the larger plan to try and keep this man in jail for as long as possible, because there have been experts in Bangladesh, legal experts, who say that the case is a weak one, and if it's actually heard on merits, it does not have legs to stand on. However, the other way to keep someone incarcerated is simply don't let the bail hearing come up, or let the system work in a way that somehow even when you have a chance to have your say in court, you don't actually get it because of the way the system works. So that's what has been happening, and of course there's concern even in India over the way in which this bail hearing has been denied, especially given the fact that Chinmay Krishna Das has been booked for charges that have been considered frivolous and, frankly, trumped up charges.
All right, Saurabh, before I get in some of the other panelists, I want to first of all urge you to stay with us because I want to keep getting these updates. And before I get in Veena Sikri to really talk about the diplomatic and the larger angle to it, talk to us about what people are telling you. There's a very large ISKCON presence in Kolkata as well. Many people are feeling that what is happening is outrageous. Talk to us about what you've been speaking to a lot of people there. What are they saying about this case and its larger impact on the relationship between India and Bangladesh?
Well, Chinmay Krishna Das's earlier lawyer was admitted to hospital, and of course then we had Apurva Kumar Bhattacharjee who was representing him, and all of them have been saying that the case itself, the way it's seen, is that it is built as a case to try and keep him in jail. When it comes to merits of the case, there's very little if it's actually argued on merit, and it won't stand in court if legal principles of justice, of fairness are applied. However, the system has its way of making people continue to stay in jail, and that is something that we see happening with Chinmay Krishna Das, and that is why there's a lot of concern, because he's seen as this person who really was organizing the minority community, especially the Hindu community, against the radical forces at a time when the community is facing attacks and continues to face attacks. So obviously this is something that, has been an observation as far as Bangladesh is concerned, and the condition of minorities, especially the Hindu community, who continue to come under attack from radical forces, from hardline forces, that the current establishment of the day hasn't been able to rein in.
All right, Saurabh, stay with us. I want to quickly get in Veena Sikri as well, who's been India's ambassador to Bangladesh in the past. Talk to us, ma'am, about the impact of this case. It's been, as I said, today is the 57th day. There's no clarity on when Chinmay Krishna Das is going to get, in fact, the legal rights that every Bangladeshi citizen is entitled to. His bail hearing is not coming up for any time. It was supposed to happen this week, hasn't happened. How do you see this and its larger impact?
I think I'm very glad that you're organizing this discussion, because this is a very important issue. And it's relevant to note that immediately the day on 5th August when Sheikh Hasina was forced to leave Dhaka, the first attack came on the minorities, on the Hindus, the Buddhists, the Christians and other indigenous groups. And this was absolutely such a sharp attack. I mean, lynchings, killings, raping, destruction of property, desecration of temples, vandalizing of statues, grabbing of, homes and business establishments. And after that, it has just continued. It has gone on and on. It has gone into attacks on economic livelihood and, people who were recruited to the police, the Hindus among them have been told not to join. And, the Hindu teachers have been forced to resign. Hindu professors have been forced to resign, all by mob justice, all by mobocracy. And I think that the role of Chinmay Krishnadas Brahmachari has been very significant, because he was able to organize the community very well. And for the first time, you see, with every time that such attacks on minorities have taken place, small incidents or few incidents, you've seen that people have sort of been nervous and have left Bangladesh and come to India or gone somewhere else. But this time, the minorities decided to take a stand. And they said, no, we are going to stay. This is our country, we are citizens of this country, and we want our rights. So the demand for the rights of the...
But it is those rights that are not being granted right now. The bail hearing is not coming up. It was supposed to come this week. Now, the question I want to ask you is that now that Donald Trump is in power, he is now the President of the United States, he raised the issue of Bangladeshi Hindus during the Diwali greeting to Hindus around the world. Do you see him now pressurizing Muhammad Yunus that he needs to give fair treatment to Chinmay Krishna Das?
Oh, absolutely. I think the whole issue, because as you rightly said, President Donald Trump, while campaigning, had spoken about the chaos in Bangladesh and about the barbaric attacks on Christians and Hindus and others. So I do expect that certainly as president, he will look into both these issues. And here the issues are, number one, the 8-point demand, which has been coordinated by Chinmay Krishna Das. And he has made these 8-point demands on behalf of the minorities and given it to the government. But the government is ignoring it. It's not even appeared in the local media. I believe yesterday bail was given to some lawyers who had also, a large number of lawyers had been incarcerated also with Chinmay Das, and those people have got bail. But right now, the rights that Chinmay Das is asking for the minority communities, those have to be looked in, and we certainly hope that President Trump will take this up in a big way. And the second issue that he should take up is the chaos in Bangladesh. There is no law and order. The economy is in free fall. There is no democracy. There is no liberty. There is no stability. And all that is that the Islamists are, doing their mob justice all the time. The Jamaat-e-Islami is calling the shots. They're not allowing the elections to be held. They're calling for reforms, which is not even allowed for an interim government or a caretaker government cannot even go into the issue of reforms. And they want to delay the elections till the reform. But this group has no authority. Reforms can only be done by an elected parliament. And the sooner that the elected parliament is allowed to function, the better it is. And even all the parties are asking for it. We certainly hope that President Trump will take this up and insist on early elections. And this present interim regime is not in any position to conduct free and fair and inclusive elections, because they have completely sidelined the Awami League, which is about 35-40%
In fact, Veena ji, I was going to come to just that there's been a lot of talk about elections, but no clear roadmap. Even the main opposition party is saying conduct elections this year in July or August. But there's no word coming in from the so-called interim but unelected leader Mohammad Yunus.
Yes, absolutely. He is not in control at all. He is doing whatever the Jamaat-e-Islami tells him. And then there are other organizations like Hizb ut-Tahrir, which is a banned organization, but a member of this organization is one of the advisors to the government and also special assistant to Mohammad Yunus. So we know where all the pressure is coming from. And, the interim government or caretaker government is not even supposed to have any party people. It's supposed to be a neutral, non-party government, interim government. But this a group that is there now, they have violated every premise in the constitution and they are not allowing any elections to be held. The BNP, as you correctly said, is asking for early elections. They are a very important party, and the BNP, the Awami League, I think, as the two major parties controlling about 75 to 80% of the electoral votes in Bangladesh, I'm sure they will get together and ask and appeal to President Trump for early elections, because it's the only way is to have free, fair and inclusive elections.
This is the only way. Elections must happen. Rule of law needs to be established once again in Bangladesh. Really appreciate you taking out the time to speak to me on a story that I hope we come back to and talk to in greater detail. Veena ji, another day, I'm going to give you that airtime. On that note, I'm slipping into a very short break. We come back with more stories, including the latest in the Indus Water Treaty, where India has won against Pakistan's claims. Stay with us. We come back with that and a lot more.
Love a good deal? Try Free to Play Deal or No Deal, only at Tombola. There's up to £1,000 to be won. Get that good deal feeling. Open for fun.
Quidco gives you cashback every time you shop on over 5,000 brands. It always pays to Quidco. Sign up and start saving today. Visit quidco.com.
With retirement round the corner, I want to spend more time with my family and less time worrying about the numbers. Which reminds me,
Welcome to British Seniors, the UK's #1 rated provider of over 50s life insurance.
Hi, I'd like a quick quote.
No problem. We're proud to offer our seniors lifetime guarantee. With 100% of claims having been paid, we guarantee your premiums will never go up and that you'll speak to one of our specialists in the UK. UK residents aged 50 to 80 are guaranteed to be accepted. Depending on your age, your loved ones can get a cash payout up to £10,000.
And that money could help with funeral costs or even as a gift for the grandkids. I'll do it.
Plus, when you sign up, you'll receive a £135 gift card and free 24/7 GP advice and health services.
You got them all right. That's amazing.
Be proud to protect your loved ones with British Seniors. To get a free quote today, call our UK team on 0800 977 5808 or visit britishseniors.co.uk.
If you're homeless, you're never safe.
Tonight, too many young people like Kira will be at risk, right here on our streets. But you could help a young person find safety and begin a new future by sponsoring a room at Centrepoint.
It's more than a room. You get real support and training to help you get your life back on track.
Please search Centrepoint Room online today or call 0808 281 8001 and be the turning point for a young person like Kira. Thank you.
I'll fix him, love. Poor pet. Just shows you never know what's going to happen. Which reminds me, I need to protect the life we've built. That's why I'm looking into Smart Family Life Insurance.
Hi, I'd like a quick quote, please. OK. You can choose a benefit amount up to £750,000, depending on your age. If you're a UK resident aged 18 to 64, you can apply with just a few health and lifestyle questions. For £250,000 of cover, the price starts at just £14.77 a month.
That's less than I thought. And it could help my husband with the mortgage.
Just like families, not all life insurance is the same. That's why we offer the Smart Family Guarantee.
That's good to know.
You'll also receive a 100% advance in the event of terminal illness and 10% cash back on your first year's premiums. That's the Smart Cashback. Plus, you'll also get your choice of a £125 gift card.
Protect the life you've built the smart way. To get a free quote today, call our specialist UK team on 0800 977 5753 or visit smartinsurance.co.uk.
Welcome back. You're watching India Global. We now turn our attention to a very important story coming in. The World Bank appointed neutral expert has announced that it is competent to decide on the differences between India and Pakistan over 2 hydropower projects in Jammu and Kashmir under the Indus Water Treaty. A decision that upheld India's position was welcomed by New Delhi, and in a statement, the MEA has said that it stands vindicated. It's an important development given the fact that Pakistan had raised several questions on this issue. Now, what is that all about? How significant this is? Let's get in my colleague Mohammad Ghazali to fill us in with the very latest on the story and why this is so important for India. Go ahead, Ghazali, explain to us, connect the dots for us.
See, this is very important because India and Pakistan have locked horns. There has been dispute over the maintainability of Indus Water Treaty. Both sides have discussed with each other about making some amendments, making some changes in the treaty which came into existence back in 1960 under the guidance of World Bank. For the last 1.5 years, Pakistan has been objecting for the construction of 2 dam projects in Jammu and Kashmir, and back in last year, Pakistan had demanded that a neutral observer should look for the maintainability of that project or the feasibility of that project. Even India had agreed for that, but Pakistan backed out later, saying that it wants some international court of arbitration to look for it. Now, India back then had opposed it because that doesn't come under the ambit of the entire treaty. And now the treaty's appointed independent observer, or say the neutral observer, has said that all these issues which Pakistan has raised, around 7 differences or 7 objections to this project, comes under the purview of the neutral observer. This is exactly why India's stand gets vindicated, because India had also been demanding that a neutral observer, which comes under the treaty or the Indus Water Treaty, authorizes him to review these projects or review the objections raised by Pakistan. Now, Pakistan has not reacted to this, but it is a very clear-cut say that India's stand gets vindicated, and also now India and Pakistan both will wait for the word of the neutral observer on these 7 points which Pakistan has raised. So first step in that regard is that the neutral observer reviewing this entire issue is a vindication of India's stand. Now we'll have to see that what will be his comments, what will be his observations on those 7 objections raised by Pakistan related to the dam project in Jammu and Kashmir.
All right, Mohammad Ghazali, appreciate you taking out the time on India Global for that story. Shifting focus now, the Senate has voted on Monday to confirm Marco Rubio as President Donald Trump's Secretary of State, the first high-level cabinet official for the new administration to be approved by the chamber. The confirmation vote took place just hours after Donald Trump was sworn in as the president, and the overwhelming bipartisan vote was 99-0, with no senators voting against the nomination. Marco Rubio is a staunch advocate for strengthening ties with India. He is a China hawk, and this report tells you why his appointment is so crucial and would pave the way for stronger India-US ties. Take a look. Marco Rubio, the 53-year-old senator from Florida, has officially taken over as the U.S. Secretary of State. Unanimously confirmed by the Senate, Rubio becomes the first Latino to hold this prestigious position under President Donald Trump's new administration. Rubio's confirmation was historic, not just for its unanimity, but also for the bipartisan support he received. He's been praised for his intelligence and deep understanding of foreign policy.
Senator Rubio, I've always been impressed with your view, particularly on a 50,000-foot level, of the kind of problems that we face in our lane, and national security lane, foreign relations and intelligence.
Rubio's reputation as a staunch China critic precedes him. Beijing has sanctioned him twice for his outspoken criticism of their human rights record and policies in Xinjiang and Hong Kong.
It's China and the risks they pose. I'm not sure in the 240-some-odd-year history of this nation we've ever faced a competitor and potential adversary of this scale, scope, and capacity.
This hawkish stance is likely to shape U.S. diplomacy, particularly in the Indo-Pacific region, as Rubio aims to counter China's growing influence on the world stage.
India in and of itself is a nation with incredible potential, and there's incredible potential in our bilateral relationship.
Rubio's connection with India aren't new. His legislative record and public statements show a consistent effort to deepen ties between Washington and New Delhi. He introduced the U.S.-India Defense Cooperation Act, calling for India to be treated at par with key US allies like Japan, Israel, and NATO members for military collaboration and tech sharing. Rubio has also pushed for cutting US security aid to Pakistan. His strategic vision places India at the heart of the US Indo-Pacific strategy, focusing on defense, trade, and technology partnerships to counter China's growing influence. Rubio believes aligning with India's expertise would strengthen global democracy's ability to compete with authoritarian regimes like China. Rubio's bond with India extends beyond diplomacy to his engagement with the Indo-American community. Florida is home to a large and vibrant Indian diaspora, and Rubio has worked hard to build bridges with this influential group. With Rhythm Arcadia, Bureau Report, NDTV World. All right, a 26-year-old man from Hyderabad was shot dead at a gas station in the U.S. on Monday in a suspected shooting by assailants in Washington, D.C. The victim, identified as Ravi Teja, was a resident of R.K. Puram Green Hills Colony in Hyderabad, and he had gone to the U.S. in March of 2022 for a master's degree. After completing his education, the victim was actively looking for a job in the city when the shocking incident took place. The local police are investigating the motive behind the attack and are working on identifying the perpetrators, officials said. Several incidents of Indian origin students being killed in the U.S. have now emerged in the last few months. Last month itself, a student from Telangana was shot dead by armed men at a petrol pump in the U.S. city of Chicago. Turning our attention to French President Emmanuel Macron, who called on Europe on Monday to wake up and spend more on defense in order to reduce the continent's reliance on the United States for its security. In a speech to the French military, he said this as Donald Trump returns to power. Trump has on multiple occasions said that NATO allies, and that includes European countries, should pay for American security. Macron referred to expected changes in Washington's foreign policy, especially regarding the war in Ukraine, saying it was an opportunity for a European strategic wake-up call. In his speech to the military at the Army Digital and Cyber Support Command based in Western France, Donald Trump has criticized the cost of war in Ukraine for U.S. taxpayers through major military aid packages, I beg your pardon, and has made it clear that he wants to shift more of the fiscal burden on Europe. He has vowed to bring the conflict to a swift end, voicing hope that peace could be negotiated in the next 6 odd months.
Demain, que ferons-nous en Europe si notre allié américain retire ses navires de guerre de la Méditerranée, s'il bascule ses avions de chasse de l'Atlantique vers le Pacifique? Ce sont tous ces scénarios auxquels nous devons nous préparer. Ce sont tous ces scénarios auxquels nous sommes en train de nous préparer.
Russian President Vladimir Putin held a video call with Chinese President Xi Jinping, suggesting a deepening of relations and deepening of their strategic partnership. This came just hours after Donald Trump was inaugurated as the 47th President of the United States. During the conversation, Putin highlighted that Russia-China relations are grounded in shared interests, equality, and mutual benefits, stressing that they remain unaffected by internal politics or the current global climate. Putin further went on to say that Russia and China play an important stabilizing role in global affairs. Xi Jinping echoed this sentiment, praising the strong cooperation between Moscow and Beijing and noting that their partnership brings positive energy to the reform and development of the global system. Donald Trump has issued an executive order lifting sanctions against Israeli settlers in the occupied area of in the West Bank region. The executive order reverses sanctions that have been put in place by Joe Biden early last year against Israeli settler groups that some have accused of significant violent acts in the West Bank region. Israeli officials welcomed Trump's historic decision to reverse those sanctions. Head of the Northern West Bank Settlements Council has said that the reversal of the quote-unquote scandalous sanctions was a political message that the United States has returned to being our friend. Meanwhile, former National Security Minister has praised the decision, calling it a correction of an injustice, and criticized the previous U.S. policies, which he claimed wrongly targeted Israel's supporters. Moving on to Thailand, where same-sex marriages are soon become legal in Thailand after a historic law. The marriage equality bill, which sailed through both the houses of representatives and the Senate, amended the civil and commercial code to change the words men and women and husband and wife to individuals and marriage partners. It would open up access to full legal, financial and medical rights for LGBTQ plus couples. Thailand has a reputation for acceptance and inclusivity, but struggled for decades to pass a marriage equality law. It was last week that Government House invited dozens of LGBTQ plus couples and activists for a meeting with the Prime Minister and several high-ranking officials to celebrate the law coming into effect, making Thailand the first in Southeast Asia and the third place in Asia after Taiwan and Nepal to legalize same-sex marriage. All right, that's all the time we have in this edition of India Global. Thanks so much for watching.
Life's full of times like this. Oh yeah. The gaps between the good stuff. Okay. Like killing time in waiting rooms. It's not long until you've had enough. David, it's time for some tombola. Working on that flat pack. Open for fun. Been bulking up the six-pack. Open for fun. Yes! I've won £11! All right, calm down. It's just a bit of bingo. Open for fun.
I like making sure I've got all the right tools for the job. And now that I'm 50, that means looking after the life I've built, protecting my lot if anything happened to me. That's why I decided to learn more about over 50s life insurance from Cover Today. They're the only over 50s life insurer with no waiting period, unlike other insurers who could make you wait up to 2 years for full cover. With Cover Today, you're fully covered from day one. And you're covered for the whole of your life. Plus, unlike other things in life, the price never goes up. Learning more couldn't be simpler. Go online or talk to their friendly UK team in just one phone call.
Cover Today are the only over 50s life insurer with no waiting period and no annoying trips to the doctors either. Plus, you get your choice of a £125 gift card.
Cover Today has given me genuine peace of mind. And now that's done, I can get on with something much more interesting.
To find out more about Cover Today, call our friendly UK team on 0808 143 4733 or visit covertoday.co.uk.
This is an important message for people living with diabetes from people living with diabetes.
When I was experiencing the symptoms of diabetes, I didn't know what was going on.
You go on the internet and it's full of horror stories.
I didn't understand about carbs, I didn't understand about blood glucose levels.
That's why the support I get as a Diabetes UK member is so important.
You can become a Diabetes UK member for just £3 a month. When you do, you'll receive a practical guide specific to your type of diabetes and a copy of Balance magazine 4 times a year. Plus, you'll help support research that could lead to better treatments for all types of diabetes.
As members, we're all working it out together.
Call 0800 144 5410 or go online to become a Diabetes UK member for just £3 a month. Join us now because membership can help you learn to live better with diabetes.
Hey, look at our Simply Safe home security system.
Let's install it.
We need another camera.
What for?
They're collectibles. What?
Now you've got a camera each.
Yay!
Systems start from under £200 when you buy a professional monitoring plan. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
Hello and welcome to the Southern View. I'm Veera Raghav. Lots lined up as always this evening, including a special focus on the big Belagavi celebration of the Mahatma and the Congress local realities in Karnataka. But first, the headlines this hour. Actor Saif Ali Khan is discharged from hospital where he was admitted after a brutal attack by a burglar. Tight security as the bandaged star returns home, escorted by Mumbai police. Telangana BJP MP Itala Rajender caught on camera slapping a real estate broker who was allegedly falsifying documents to exploit the poor. In Medachal district of the state, his supporters also assault the broker. A BJP Congress political exchange in Karnataka after Chief Minister Siddaramaia's comments on an alleged rape and extortion in Bengaluru. Chairman of the Adani Group, Gautam Adani, visits the Mahakumbh, offers the Ganga Puja and Seva at the ISKCON Pandal with his wife and son. Well, first up this evening, a controversy in Telangana after a viral video of BJP Member of Parliament from Malkajgiri, Itala Rajender, physically assaulting a real estate broker in Medachal district of the state. That video that's playing on your screens is of the BJP MP confronting the real estate broker who allegedly falsified documents and was evicting and harassing the poor in the area with muscle power. Reports say that after complaints of land grabbing and forcible evictions from local residents, the MP visited the area and confronted the real estate broker at the Pocharam area of Medachal district. After the MP slapped the real estate broker, as you see on your screens, his supporters pounced on him, assaulted the man as well. Is this a brazen case of a member of parliament taking law into his hands or justified anger against the broker? That's the big question. Uma Sudhir sets it up for us.
Malkajgiri MP from the BJP, Mr. Itala Rajender, actually slapping a real estate businessman in Ekashila area within his constituency. Something that has shocked people because he is spoken about this issue of the land in that area, and he says it is the most vulnerable sections of the population who are paying a price because of misdeeds of the officials. What Mr.